and welcome very much to the third Mass Debate. If you missed the last one, where were you? Because Mass Debate number 2 was a corker. We debated a win at Wembley is worth 2 at Old Trafford. The 4 team won that one, and the highlights from that were amazing. If you missed it, you missed out on the following quotes. Austerity has screwed the North over. It got that political. Then, I'm going to get my piano out. We went from that to that was savage. If you're from Yorkshire, an extra 20 pence means a lot. I won a trophy, don't care. Play the cock, and £9 a pint. So they were all the highlights from last time. This time, it's going to be even better. Because this time, we're going to look at the salary cap and whether we need to get rid of it, especially at a time when we're going to have just been docked 2 points, have 2 whole points deducted just for letting a player's agent buy a bag of nuts on a British Airways flight. And talking of bags of nuts, the RFL has cherished this. They've loved it. It's given them the opportunity to weaponise the cap, a bit like Peaky Blinders, to take those 2 points off Wigan. So they're loving it. But on the other hand, you've got teams like Widnes going bust, James Rule getting death threats, and I mean proper ones, not just from Martin Gleeson, but actually scary ones from.
Can I make notes
Widnes
here, Matt? These are really good arguments.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They're all yours. So we've got all this to come, and we've got 2 great teams. On the 4 team, telling us it's time to scrap the cap, we've got Sean Lawless and Philip Tomlinson. I'm calling that team Goliath. And on the against team, telling us it's time to not scrap the cap, keep the scrap, keep the crap too, keep the cap, the scrap, the crap, keep them all. That is the team with David and David on it. I'm calling that the David team. So the rules are very simple. Each speaker has 5 full minutes to speak. The first minute and the final minute are protected. At the end of the first minute, the speaker will hear this sound. Now, when you hear the neigh, members of the other team can interrupt away, so long as they say, hold my pie first. Yeah. At the end of minute 4, you will hear this sound. That means, speaker, when you hear the moo, it's just you. And at the end of the 5th minute, when you hear the cock, it's time to stop. Okay, Mr. Sean Lawless, I believe you. Oh my God, your hair. Sorry.
Yeah.
I believe you are the first speaker for the first team.
That's me.
Are you ready to go?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, your 5 minutes starts now.
So the last debate that we had, I went all sort of Donald Trump and sort of political on everybody and sort of threw in a few truths that may or may not have been false. But this time I've gone down the academic route. And I've found some research that basically tells us that we should scrap the cap, and we're going to come on to that. Firstly, if you hear a baby cry, don't worry. Secondly, if you hear a dog bark like that, don't worry. It's all part of the act. Salary caps only work when... What happens when you hear the dog? Right.
You kill it.
Salary caps only work when the salary cap restricts overspending and not that it restricts good spending. Lola, man. The NRL, for example, the NFL, rugby union, all have salary caps in which they work relatively well. Yes, you have people that break the cap, but they have caps that increase year on year to regulate spending, and it stops an overspend. When you look at the Super League, you look at the talent pool that we've lost over the past years. You look at John Bateman. You look at John Bateman, that's gone. Sam Tompkins, that's gone. That's come back, that's gone. Joel Tompkins that went to rugby union, came back. Josh Charlie, why are these people leaving? It's not because they like rugby union. Yeah, they might like Australia, but they come back a little bit. It's because they get paid more, and we can't afford that. We cannot retain talent. We can't retain a pathway through to the England national side through that. We've basically got the tail wagging the dog in this sport. We've got the little teams like Wakefield and Castleford wagging the dog. They can't afford to spend more than what they spend, but yet again, they are dictating to the likes of Wigan, Warrington, Leeds, St Helens, clubs that have actually got a little bit of money to be able to spend. We need superstars in the sport. This year, the introduction of the marquee rule, for example, has brought in players like Trent Merrin, Conrad Hurrell, Blake Austin, Ben Barber. These are superstars, but we're only getting rationed superstars. Nobody wants to see Richie Myler, but we've got Richie Myler. Richie Myler's our superstar at this moment in time. We want Cooper Cronk. We want John Bateman, not the little Richie Mylers of the world. The marquee rule has given us a little bit of a taste of that. But can you imagine giving Warrington free rein? Some might say they already have free rein, but it'd be like watching the Harlem Globetrotters fail every year. How good would that be? Such a team of superstars losing finals year after year. We're rewarding sustainable. We can reward sustainable clubs here. Substitute Wakefield with Toronto. Substitute Castleford with New York. Bring Newcastle in. All of a sudden, you've got a sport that actually looks respectable from the outside. Swap Eccles Red Devils, for example. Take them out. Bring New York in. Bring the Serbian team. So many people are walking past my window. I live in a cul-de-sac and the dog's barking. Finally, research. In 2007, the cap was brought in. It was brought in to restructure the Super League. Basically, two main items. One, to make it competitive. It hasn't made it competitive since 2007. Since Super League came in, we've had 4 winners. How is that making it an even sport? It's absolutely rubbish. The other one was to make it a sustainable spending, stopping the main expenditure being on players. But what's happened? We've seen attendances
Hold my pie.
Go on.
Hold my pie. Let me just mention a few things to you. Blackpool Panthers, Gateshead Thunder, York Wasps, Sheffield Eagles, Liverpool City, Kent Invicta, Chorley Lynx. Those are teams that all went bust for spending too much. That's some research for you.
Have you finished?
Yeah.
Yeah, but at that time, what we were trying to do, we were trying to spread too evenly. What we've got now is we've got people like David Argyle that can actually put money in. At that time, when we brought into Super League, we just wanted to expand. That was the thing. But now we've got strategic expansion. We've got people that are actually... What animal was that?
That was the moo.
All right, okay. Well, I'll say it aside. Yeah. So the salary cap was introduced, 2007? In 2009, some academic research, people with genuine GCSEs did some research. Howarth and Robinson did research into the sport, and they found that within 2 years, the salary cap had failed. Why are we, 12 years later, still persevering with something that had failed after 2 years? It's not worked in 12 years. It didn't work in 2 years. We're so quick at changing things in rugby league, but the one thing that fails year on year on year is the salary cap. We change the rules every year. We change the structure every year. But the one thing that we won't change is the thing that has got us by the neck, which is Wakefield, which is Castleford. It's the small little clubs that are dominating the big clubs. We get rid of the salary cap. We get rid of the rubbish in Yorkshire. We have a competitive European/North American league. And yeah, there you go.
When you hear the cock, it's time to stop. Thank you very much, Sean. So that was the first speech for the for team, telling us to scrap the cap. The first speech for the against team is from David. Are you there, David?
I presume you're talking which one? David B or David T?
David T.
Right.
David T in the house.
Right.
Are you ready?
Yeah,
your 5 minute starts now.
Right. Being a Yorkshireman, I took exception to a couple of those comments, to say the least. But let's keep that aside. I cannot see how increasing club running costs can actually be swallowed by a club. So it's only the poor workman, the general guy that supports the club, that is clearly going to have to pick up the can and run for it. So I don't know how well off you boys are in Lancashire, but we Yorkshire boys, as you say, 20 pence is a lot of money. I think to pay for some of these superstars that may come over could add more than 20p to our gate entrance fee. Now, the one thing that will cause me concern, and we're all talking about the RFL wanting to broaden the game. How are we going to broaden it when it gets more and more and more expensive? Can you tell me? So it will halt the RFL's sales and marketing drive to broaden its appeal.
Hold my pie. Surely all the rich people in London will start buying into the game, and New York, and Swindon.
Just how big are the crowds at London Broncos?
Average about 6 foot.
Yeah. So that's both of them, is it?
That's just one of them.
Yeah. So, the one thing that I will say, I believe to suggest removing the salary cap would be a retrograde step, simply because one of the richest sports in Europe, being soccer, spit it out, hush, saying silly words, is now trying to introduce financial fair play so that they can actually level the playing field and take it away from some of the richest clubs in Europe, vis-a-vis Juventus, Real Madrid, Paris Saint-Germain, any of the London clubs like Spurs, Arsenal, the Manchester clubs. So as a result of that, I think, why are we going back or thinking that we can run our sport better when the Premier League and European leagues are actually trying to make it fairer and the place is awash with money?
Hold my pie, David, there.
Yeah.
I've been doing a bit of research, and I just want to give you a bit of a list here. Blackpool Panthers, Gateshead Thunder, York Wasps, Sheffield Eagles, Liverpool City, Kent Invicta, Chorley Lynx. Maybe if they'd been allowed to spend as much as they wanted, they'd still be in the game.
Potentially, but isn't it about the appeal of the sport to the individuals and how it was marketed? That
True. I don't remember the marketing for Kent Invicta, to be honest.
No, I only played for the football team down there. I've never heard of rugby league down. Huh?
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. But the one thing is, if we start taking, as has been said earlier, if you allow the Wigans, Leedses, Warrington, St Helens to get richer, do we really want a Super League, which is like the Scottish Premier Football League, where you only have 5 or 6 teams playing? No.
Yeah.
We want
no.
No, we want a sport that's competitive, and leveling the playing field is the way of making our game more appreciative, more enjoyed, and is more than likely going to draw the crowds in, not push them away. If I'm going to see the likes of Celtic play Arbroath, or in this case, something like Barrow Raiders. Oh no, they're moved up now. Somebody like Hemel Hempstead Stags playing Saints. Hence, I believe the salary cap should stay. I rest my case.
Thank you. And when you hear the cock, it's time to stop. Okay, we'll now have the second speaker for the 4 team. Philip, are you ready?
I am, yeah.
Hello, how are you doing? You all right?
I'm not too bad, thanks.
Good, good. Okay, your 5 minutes starts now.
Okay, I think we should scrap the cap. It was brought in 2007, and I think that now it's become completely outdated. It was brought in to try and level the playing field in terms of competition. It was brought in to try and increase sustainability within clubs, and it was trying to protect the players' interests. They're the sort of main principles it was brought in for. But in that time, we've had clubs go boom and bang, and we've seen clubs sort of be mismanaged, overspending, and take the likes of Widnes recently, people are still not sticking to the salary cap. So I think it's completely outdated and it's sometimes gone. But we need to protect our interests as well. So I think we need to look at the simple fact that we can't keep our players here when they're homegrown, they're being produced by us, getting to a point where we can't pay them enough in order to keep them. So why are we holding them back? So we can do it quite well. We let players go, we entice them to come back, and then over the course of time, we sort of increase our talent pool retrospectively. But in terms of investment, we also make our game to a point where people can't invest in it because they're held back. There's too many rules. There's too many little intricacies into the salary cap. There's 8 different things where you can put into the salary cap to make it bigger or smaller depending on how well you're doing. People like Marwan Kukash comes in, takes one looks at it, it's got loads and loads of money to spend, but he's held back by the fact that the RFL are putting all these rules in place.
Hold my pie.
Make it more attractive.
Just going back, so you talk about Kukash, which is fine, and yes, he's restricted in his investment, but scrapping the salary cap wouldn't have helped with this because it's about how much they're spending. So if they've not got the money, then scrapping the salary cap's just going to make them even less competitive. You talk about Kukash coming in, and again, that's fine if Kukash wants to come in and throw his money around. Simon Moran at Warrington's throwing his money around, but you're going back to the days that the salary cap was brought in for to stop the domination of Wigan, essentially. And it's, for me, the worry is if Kukash comes in to a club where he can spend as much money, he spent a lot of money at Salford, and then he disappears when he's bored, or he wants to upgrade his yacht, or he wants to go and, race horses somewhere else. When he goes, there's nothing left of the club because they're not sustainable, because they're not generating the income that they need to keep afloat, because you take away all that Kukash money and they're left with nothing.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think there should be some rules in place to prevent that. However, the cap in itself, in the way that it's currently set up, is just
hold my pie. Blackpool Panthers, Gateshead Thunder, York Wasps, Sheffield Eagles, Liverpool City, Kent Invicta, Crawley Lynx. What rules would have helped them?
You asked
fair spending, and in terms of revenue and expenditure, so to make it sustainable. If you haven't got the money to spend, you can't spend it, and that's exactly where Widnes are at the moment. They haven't got the money to spend, and now they can't spend it because they haven't got it. If you're attracting investors in, that's absolutely great, but other investors will see that and so see some limited success because we're going to win it anyway, and then we're going to get to a point where the game increases its profile itself, and then the likes of you Gateshead Thunder and all the other teams that you've mentioned, they'll probably still be around because you've still got
Panthers, Wasps.
I was trying to make a list, but I can't write that fast. So, the second thing I was going to say is, in terms of looking at success, if you look in industry, those players, those people in industry who have got money incentives in terms of performance, never seem to increase performance because of performance-related pay. It just adds to stress. What people need to be looking at is what is it at the end. So we've got a prize at the end because we've got a Super League trophy, we've got a Challenge Cup trophy, and it should be on our focus really should be on the success of that and not how much money is being spent or not being spent.
So you got 20 seconds.
20 seconds. Oh. I wish you would do a rap, but I'm not.
Blackpool Panthers, Gateshead Thunder. And when you hear the cock, it's time to stop. Okay, we now have the final speaker for the against team, David.
I'm just telling you, Matt, I've substituted Phil out and I've come back in. Because
you're back,
the dog stops, the baby stops, and I want to get at David.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, David. Good luck with this. Are you ready? Go.
Okay, so you're saying scrap the cap, and I'm saying no, we shouldn't scrap the cap. Maybe raise it, maybe make a few tweaks, but we shouldn't scrap it at all. First point we'll go over is as Sean rightly alluded to earlier, we hold the NRL up as the pinnacle of the sport, rightly or wrongly, but that's where all of our top talent goes. They're working the salary cap and making it work for them, so why shouldn't we be able to? If it's working in Australia, then it should be able to be replicated over here. You talk about levelling the playing field, and again, Sean alluded to, you know, the 4 Super League winners: Wigan, Saints, Leeds, and Bradford. If you look at the NRL over the last 21 years, so they had the salary cap. It came into force after the ARL became sort of, and the Super League won. The NRL was formed. In that same time period, they've had 12 winners. You know, you've had Melbourne Storm, and if you take out the two Melbourne Storm victories for salary cap discrepancies, the most any team's won it over there is 3 times. You know, you've got single winners there like Penrith, like Canterbury, like West Tigers, St George, South Sydney, Cronulla, North Queensland. So it obviously works.
Hold my
it obviously
pie.
functions.
I hate
Don't
it when people
even
reel
think
off a
about
list.
saying. Pardon?
I said I hate it when people just reel off a list of clubs.
Don't even start yours. I might need to come back to that in a little bit if I'm running out of time at the end. So I might let you just, make sure to make it fair and balanced across those. So yeah, if it's working in the NRL, then that's fine. The second bit I want to go over is Wigan and the finances. So you talk about the salary cap and abolishing it. It's Wigan Fan TV, and abolishing the salary cap is not going to help Wigan in any way, shape or form, because I don't know whether you know, but over the last 5 years, Wigan have lost over £1.6 million. That money's coming out of Lenigan and his family's pockets. So we've only made Go ahead.
I take your point, and you're right. You know, we're not Warrington. We can't sort of make rules and sort of just pay whatever we want for players and sort of just hide them under different rules. But do you not think that scrapping the cap opens up a different possibility to new investors who are not restricted to what they can invest, and therefore they can see that they're more likely to get success? You look at Eddie Hearn. You know, I know he's not an investor, but he's a promoter, and he knows what he's doing when it comes to promoting sports. If he's telling us to scrap the cap, and we're not going to listen to him, who are we going to listen to?
Well, it's fine, but I'm from a Wigan perspective. Lenigan doesn't look like he's going to lose control of Wigan anytime soon. I don't know where these, surely we'd have investors in anyway with the success we've had under Lenigan's regime. So, that for me, that would just strengthen the likes of Warrington. It would strengthen the likes of Kukash if he wanted to come in and buy, or set up a Liverpool. Is there any Liverpool clubs went bust, Matt, in your list? No?
Liverpool City.
Yeah, Liverpool City. So he might get them going again. But it's just... Yes, it needs tweaks, and obviously the only benefit of scrapping the cap would be we wouldn't have 2 less points this season because we wouldn't have docked them for
You've gone very quiet.
I don't know where everybody's gone. Here's Dave. Let's bring David back on. Everyone, I don't know if this is a practical joke and everyone's just abandoned me. I can see that Matt's watching. But Matt, you've just been kicked out. Does this mean that I've won the argument? Is it last man standing? Is that how it works? This is an amazing game, then. We see that people logging back in now. Here's Phil, I think. Phil, can you hear me all right?
I can hear you.
Yeah. I think basically we've won. We've got rid of everybody.
No, you haven't.
I think
David,
that's again.
but I think technically that's a win for us, isn't it?
No.
No.
No
The one
chance.
I've
David's
got.
not happy.
No. As far as I'm concerned, is this now into general debate, or are we still?
Honestly, David, this is just a free for all now. You honestly, it's over to you. It's now the David show. You go.
The one thing is, irrespective of whether we, if we do change the capping rules, whether it's scrapping it, moving it, my real concern comes from a financial perspective of where are these new investors going to come from, because they've not come already. To even put the financial pressure on us to have the RFL debate, which clearly, if there's a move within one club, that's fine, which you can see the big clubs, the big four, big six, whatever it may be. But is there somebody like Man City's owner around the corner ready to come and toss a few billion at a club?
I mean, personally, no, I don't think there is, but I think there's certainly people out there who will invest in rugby league if it's actually put and marketed to its strengths. But if you look at it from an investor's point of view, you're limited in how much you can invest, and then that is limited. Is probably you think that may limit your success because you're playing. It's like trying to fill a jigsaw puzzle with less pieces than anybody else when you're competing in a sport. If you had the option between investing in rugby union and investing in rugby league, it's far easier, I would say, to invest in a championship rugby union team and take them through the leagues, through to the Premiership, and have a go at getting in Europe, a chance of getting in Europe and earning success within rugby union. I don't think we have that reward within rugby league. And here's your host back, Matt Macaulay. What on earth are you doing, Matt? I put you in charge of a show and then you kick everybody off.
It was just megalomania on my part, wasn't it?
Matt, it's over to you. Me and David and Phil have just been having a discussion. I don't know, this is where I go. Okay. This is your show.
Thank you, Sean. So, David.
Which one? Oh, me?
Yeah, there's only you in at the minute. I can see David Bailey's trying to log in. I just can't physically see him at the moment.
Yeah, go on.
So, are you going to do your 30-second summary and sum up your team's argument?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. From my point of view, the salary cap should stay because without a level playing field, we will not have an interesting league competition. I don't want to step to only having 4 or 6 teams in a league and having no competition for at least half the season. We have the ability to market the game. We just need to work harder at how we get the business to work harder to make it attractive. With more people wanting to come, we can potentially change the way we review the businesses and the game we're playing.
Stop there. That is your 30 seconds.
Done.
Okay, thank you. Sean, I think you're going to have to do your teams.
No, go for it, Sean. You're all right.
All right, okay, I'll do it. I can read you some random notes from this notebook if you're right. Like,
that'll do. I love random notes from a notebook.
I think my wedding speech might be in here. Go on, off you go. You start your clock. Right, Salary cap, let's get rid of it. We've had 4 winners of Super League since it came in. 23 years, 4 winners. Why was it brought in? It was to make it a level playing field so that we saw more winners. David Bailey made the point that we've had however many winners in the NRL. That's because they've got a salary cap that works. Ours doesn't. We're not spending enough money on wages and we're letting the tail wag the dog. I'm sick of small clubs. Eccles, Red Devils, Wakefield, Trinity, Castle.
On again.
Sounds
Sorry,
funny.
I've just muted myself. What I said is, I really like David, and I didn't realise he was from Yorkshire before I started going off about all the Yorkshire clubs.
It helps to keep your powder dry.
Having said that, everything that I said still stands. So let's get rid of the crap.
You hear the
Let's get rid of the crap cap.
So, who have we not managed to offend so far this evening? That's
Scottish people. I don't know, RSPCA and the NSPCA or NSPCC or whatever. Maybe the dog's still alive.
Once again, there has been more dog action in this episode than normal. Dogs are becoming a recurring theme, I'm feeling. Okay, so we have now heard all the arguments for and against scrapping the cap. It's now up to you, the viewer, to take a bit of responsibility and get off your bum and do something and actually vote for the team in that dog's dinner that you think should be the winner. And I think I'm just going to say goodbye now.
Matt, thank you so much. We're still on air. I just want to say, of all the things that could possibly happen with you presenting the show, this is perfect. To have a dog barking, a baby crying, to take everybody off the screen, to get everybody back on the screen. And as Stuart said earlier on, it's the RFL have tried to take us down. So we've now got a conspiracy theory to go with that as well. So Matt, well done. Thank you very much for persevering. And remember to vote for Team Goliath, and we'll see you all tomorrow for the London preview.